4, 3, 2, 1, and you are live.
What's up, everybody? Hello. Thank you for tuning in to another Style session coming to you from here in Wynwood, the heart of Miami, right in Stylez Studio. So you guys know me. My name is Corey. I'm one of the co-founders of Stylez, where it is our mission, our goal, to help all of you be successful and achieve the dreams that you deserve in the beauty industry. So thank you for tuning in. Today is going to be how to achieve the perfect blonde. Now, this is sponsored by Truss Professional. The last couple years, this color brand has been taking the world by storm. And their educator, Anna Lima, is going to be here presenting today. And many of you know her because she's done some social media education with us already. So we're super psyched. Some of you guys are going to be familiar with her and all of that. So before we get started, this is going to be between 1 and 1.5 hour class. So at the end, make sure you get your certificate of completion, post it, tag Stylez and tag Milady. We want to repost you. And also, Milady is sponsoring for all of you a Stylez account. So you guys can claim a 6-month free Stylez account. We'll share a QR code with you. So you can get 1,000 videos about skincare, barbering, coloring, styling, all kinds of different stuff for beauty. So make sure you take advantage of that. And there's 2 things I want to say about that. If you're working already, and if you're doing color, like this is the thing you need to do, Stylez is for you, okay? If you're not working yet, you need to dive into Stylez and prepare yourself that when you are, you're ready to make your first customer a happy one. And for all of you, make sure in the Career Kickstart in the app, you go through that. To achieve success, it takes the right habits, and it takes a mindset to do those things you want to do and achieve those dreams that you guys are in beauty school for, or you're working behind the chair for already. And you know, through Stylez, I've interviewed probably 150 leading educators, salon owners, you know, all these people we look up to that set trends in our industry. And everything that they shared with us in those interviews is in the Career Kickstart. And it's about habits, it's about mentality, it's about mindset, and a lot of techniques as well. So if you haven't, dive into there and level up your confidence, level up your skill, so you can be successful. Thank you to Truss for sponsoring this. After Anna does her demo, they have an amazing giveaway for all of you, so stay tuned on how you guys can enter that. It's super simple and great prize. And they also have a small gift for anybody else who does color that you guys are going to be really interested in. So without further ado, let's get into how to achieve the perfect blonde with Miss Anna Lima. Yes, come on, girl.
Hello.
Thank you for being here.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Anna is part of our family, the Stylez family, of course. So we're really excited that she's here and Truss is sponsoring for her to be here. You live in New Jersey.
Yes, I do.
And so you flew down this weekend and did a class in Miami?
Yes, I did a class, and then I took my model yesterday that you guys will see in a minute. And then we're here today.
Yeah, and you just went to Brazil?
Yes, we had a brand trip in Brazil, and it was incredible. We got to do some amazing 2-day classes over there. So we learned some really awesome techniques and even more about the amazing company of Truss.
Yeah, good for you. So you went to Brazil. Where else have you been to teach?
This year, Amsterdam and Italy. And then I've been to Panama twice, and then I've been all throughout the country.
Lucky you.
Yeah, it's cool.
How long have you been teaching?
Teaching about 3 to 4 years now. Working with the products about 5 years now. I started in the industry at 15. My mom opened up her first salon when I was only 2, so I'd like to say that I was raised
born
in this.
Into it.
Born into it here.
Well, like me, I have hair in my DNA. My mom is still doing hair today. So
that's awesome.
yeah, I grew up folding shop towels and cleaning brushes and talking to her clients.
Same here.
Yeah, so, and that's why we care so much about all of you and why we're tickled pink to be here. We have Anna, and she's going to give a lot of color expertise to you, but also anybody who's not doing color or doesn't want to do color, she's going to talk a lot about taking photos for your social. She's going to talk about engaging with clients. So a lot of the things she's going to share is relevant and pertinent for all of you, even if you're not doing color work yourself.
Yes, definitely. It'll touch on all aspects of social media too and how to help you grow that aspect. So you can use these tips in whichever specialty that you're in.
Right on. So we're excited?
Yes, I'm excited.
All right. Well, last thing. Please, in the chat, send questions.
Yes.
Let us know where you're from. Let us know if you're watching in a school, like in a class, or you're watching alone. But throughout the time, send the questions, and I will keep interrupting you.
Okay, perfect.
At
Please
the right
do.
time. If I don't get to everybody's, forgive me. I'm sorry. I'll try. But yeah, chat in there. You can talk amongst yourself and engage with us, and I'll ask the questions so you can share as much as they're wanting to hear.
Okay, awesome. I'm excited.
All right. Well, I'm out. Have fun.
All right, thank you. So first things first, we're going to call my beautiful model Brenda up so that you guys can see what I worked on yesterday. Here are her gorgeous results. I want you guys to stop and take a picture of your screens, screenshot this so that you can see how stunning the results of today's technique is going to give you. This is a very versatile technique, so you can use this on a variety of different clients that are looking for a variety of different looks. On Brenda, she loves to be super blonde, so we did a beautiful face frame on her, and I'm going to talk a little bit about how I did a bit of a color correction on her. She decided to play hairstylist at home and decided to try out a color that left her with a very orange stripe right here in the front. So we were able to cancel that out beautifully, which I will discuss later on our mannequin. So we are going to go over this whole technique on a mannequin since we don't have all day to do somebody's hair here on camera with you guys. We have about an hour to an hour and a half. So I'm going to go over the technique so that you guys are able to replicate this back in your classrooms, back in your salon, and on your friends. And I'm going to have Brenda turn around so you guys can see how stunning this look is. It's really nice and blended at the top with a huge pop of color throughout the mid-lengths and ends. And now let's get started on our technique. So I'm gonna have Brenda step off, and we are going to bring our mannequin in. And feel free to drop some questions down in the comment area. This is definitely a technique that you guys can use on multiple different clients, on your friends. And today I am going to be using what I used on Brenda. We used the Air Libre Lightener from Truss Professional with the 8x powder. I absolutely love these products, and we will definitely get into this. The Air Libre Lightener has a collagen base and a blend of 8 different oils inside, so it keeps my blondes really nice and healthy. Something that I always do to start off is pre-cut my client's hair. What is this going to do for us? It's going to save us time, and it's going to save us product. So we want to be able to trim anything that we're not going to be coloring. I'll always have my clients tilt their heads down, and then we can just go ahead and trim off the excess length and then shape up the hair. So at this point, I would rough cut their layers and I would give them some shape after we discuss what they're going for. No matter how many times you've been doing someone's hair, it's always crucial to focus on your consultation. So you want to know, how long does your client want to leave their hair? You should ask this first thing when you get in the chair so that you're able to know if they're chopping their hair to their shoulders, you want to get rid of that length now instead of focusing all that color and brightness on your ends, and then you're going to be wasting your time, you're going to be wasting your product, and you could end up cutting off all the hard work that you just did. So you want to be able to discuss that beforehand with your clients in order to have an idea of where their head is. Because some people come in and say that they want a haircut, but to them, a haircut is 1 millimeter off the ends, and another person says a haircut is going to be 4 or 5 inches off. So you want to make sure that you're really clear with your guests every single time. So for our technique, I am going to be working in a lot of zigzags and teases, okay? So for our power blonde, that we have, we are going to work in very small zigzags with about a 25 to 50% tease the entire time. I'm going to start off at the nape of the neck and do a very tiny zigzag following that hairline. If my client had a hairline where it is more tapered off and she doesn't have much hair in the sides here, I would create this zigzag coming up on an angle. So you're always going to follow whatever hairline pattern that your client has. So I'm going to clip this all away so that we can do our first section. If you guys have any questions, make sure you drop them down below, because we definitely want to hear all of the questions that you have. I am using 20 volume on the mannequin. This is typically what I use in the salon. And something that you're gonna see me use a lot are these little clips here. This is going to help to hold our tees back, and it's going to make your job a lot easier. I work with assistants typically in my salon, but when I'm not working with them, I always make sure I have these clips on hand. I'm gonna show you why. For our first section, you'll always lift it up and remove the baby hair underneath so that we're not gonna lighten those shorter pieces. Every single client has baby hair. The mannequins don't necessarily have baby hair, so we're going to replicate that by creating these little ribbons and removing this section. We're going to work with teasing the hair 25%. You're gonna hear me talk a lot about percentages. What do I mean by 25%? If we're looking at the hair strand as a whole, 100% of the hair is from roots to ends. If we go a quarter of the way up, that's going to be 75%. Halfway up, 50%, and 3/4 of the way up, that's going to be our 25% tease. The further down you tease, the more depth and dimension that you're going to have. This is going to create a lot more of a natural feel. So when I said that this is a versatile technique, the main component that you're going to change is how much of a percentage of tease you're going to be doing. If you're doing a 75% tease, that means your client is going to have very little brightness and a whole lot of depth. So for clients that are going for a more natural feel, this is exactly what you would aim for. In this case, for our Power Blonde, we're going to be focusing on 25% tease and 50% tease. So we're going to have some really bold pops of blonde closer to the root, and then some pieces where it's really nice and dimensional up at that root area with really bright ends. So what's really important when you are going to tease your client's hair is, first off, the type of comb you're going to choose. I always like to use a small tooth comb that is not going to be a wide tooth comb. So something where the teeth are closer together. A wide tooth comb can work on certain hair types, but your finer tooth comb is going to be the best bet for most of your clients. You want to make sure that the section is completely detangled, and then you want to hold the hair nice and taut. We don't want to pinch the hair between our fingers this way, because that's going to make the hair on each side travel in various different directions to get to that point. When we have hair traveling in various different directions, it's going to cause this tease to really mat up and to cause a huge knot. We don't want to cause any knots. We don't want our clients to feel uncomfortable when we're doing these techniques. So I'm going to detangle this, and I'm going to slice my fingers down and hold it taut between my fingers this way. So now that there's an even distribution of hair throughout my hand, I can do a really nice and easy tease. So you see how easily this hair gets pushed up, and you're able to work off of this section. The point of the tease is to clean up the section so that we're not going to be lightening any of these shorter pieces. The shorter pieces are typically pieces that have fallen out and that they're going back in, or they can be damaged pieces, or if anybody has had any postpartum hair loss. Since these pieces are going to be a little shorter, we want to avoid lightening them as much as possible. So I'm gonna clean up this section, and then something that I love to do is to apply lightener onto my foil before I go ahead and apply it onto the hair. This is going to help tremendously, whether you're working with an assistant or not, so that your hands are going to be free. So I can press the hair right onto that foil, and now both my hands are free so that I can grab whatever other product that I need. I'm going to grab a generous amount of my lightener on the tip of my brush. I always like to make sure that the brush is going to stay nice and clean as well. And I'm going to start applying to this mid area and working my way slowly up towards that root. Why am I doing this? I don't want there to be a ton of product near the root area. First off, the root area has the natural warmth, so that can cause your lightener to develop more quickly, and it can cause your lightener to swell in your foil. So we want to walk that lightener up very slowly, making sure that we're still hydrating and saturating that section, but without applying an excess of product near the root area. I'm going to load up my brush again so that I'm able to work down my section and really saturate those mid-lengths and ends. A good rule of thumb is that in order to fully saturate your section, you want to hold your brush perpendicularly to your foil to be able to push that lightener through. So to fully saturate, perpendicular, and then to blend your lightener up, you hold your brush horizontally to give you a much lighter tension. So then at this point, we can fold our foil one of two different ways. We can either fold this up and clip it away, or we can apply another foil right on top of it in order to sandwich it on both sides. I like to do this technique when I'm dealing with long hair so that I don't have to bunch it all up into a foil. And one of my favorite tips when I'm teaching a class is to say, to check it underneath to make sure that you're going to get a beautiful lift and to make sure that everything is nice and saturated. If there are any spots down here that are dry at this point, you want to go back and resaturate, or else you're going to have spotting later on. You don't want to let this process for 30, 40 minutes to an hour and then go back and check it and realize that you missed a huge spot underneath. So at that point, you can go ahead and make sure that it's all nicely saturated, and then fold your foil up on both sides. I'm going to fold off the ends, but I'm not squeezing the foil too tight either. I want there to still be a little bit of airflow throughout the foil. So now, the brighter blonde that you want, the more of these fur sections that you're going to create. For the mannequin, for me to be able to follow her hairline, I'm going to create one more horizontal section of this small zigzag, and then we're going to start on our diagonal. For people who want this look, but they want it to be really nice and subtle, you can just stick to doing one of these face framing zigzags. So anytime we do a zigzag, we're going to work with slices, and we are going to slice off the top of this entire section, and we are going to leave whatever's left out for our dimension. These dimensional pieces are just as important as the pieces we're going to be lightening, because they are going to create a really nice pop being underneath the section that we're lightening. So we're going to tease it up 25%. That's going to create a very small blend at the top near the root area, and it's going to give us a lot of boldness and brightness throughout the mid-lengths and ends. First, I'm going to apply my lightener to my foil, and then I'm going to lay it down to make it stick. Once it's stuck on there, I can clean up that tease and make sure that everything is out of my way. Load up your brush, making sure that your brush stays nice and clean, and saturate that midsection. Once that midsection is saturated, you're going to start to work it up. This is something that occurs a ton when you're doing foils. Your foil starts to slip. When your foil starts to slip, especially at this moment, this is a great moment to fix that issue. You're gonna hold on to your ends and you're just going to take your foil and slide that right up to the root area. This is gonna make sure that you're able to keep the brightness around the root area without getting too far away. With this technique, we also do a shadow root technique, where we take a toner that matches the natural root and we blend that down. So we don't wanna start the blonde too low, because then once we shadow it, it's going to be halfway down her hair essentially. So we wanna focus that blonde really nice and high up. And we're gonna walk our lightener right up to that root area. I keep about 1 millimeter away from the very top of the foil, again, so that we can prevent swelling, and if there is any swelling, we're gonna have kind of a buffer so that that lightener is not gonna spill out of the foil. Then we're going to hold our brush perpendicular, push it through that section. The larger your section, the more you're gonna have to saturate. So it's really important to keep your sections really nice and fine to make sure that you're able to thoroughly saturate. And in this case here, we have some of this tease that's coming down and coming into our foil. So once we fold it up, I'm gonna go underneath and pull this down to make sure that it's not going to get in the way of our lightning so that this is not going to stain. We're gonna pull this up and check the bottom. We're looking good. So I fold this back over and fold in each of the sides. So this is the beginning of our contour. It's really important to remember these sections. These are the #1 sections that I do on every one of my clients to make sure that when your client brings their hair forward, they're gonna have that beautiful brightness coming from underneath as well. You cannot neglect this section when you are doing a face frame. So now we're going to start working on a diagonal. We're going to work with these very slight zigzags, and I'll do one side at a time. And as you work up and away from the face frame, we'll do slightly larger zigzags with slight more dimension underneath it. Since we're doing this bright blonde for these first pieces, I'm still going to do that 25% tease. And when I get to the mid area, that's when I'm gonna focus on that 50% tease. So 25% to keep it nice and bright. Clip away my tease. And then we're gonna prep the foil, applying the lightener just to this top section first. You don't want to bring that lightener further down in case your client, like my model, already has blonde on the ends. You want to be able to protect those ends as much as possible. So we're only going to focus the lightener on that new growth mostly. So we're going to comb away that tease, saturate the midsection, and slowly work up that lightener. You can also flip your brush over to the other side and slightly blend that up, being careful so that it's not going to touch the root area and cause any stains. So today I'm working with the Air Libre lightener. It was my lightener of choice for Brenda's hair. Because of the collagen base and the 8 different oils inside, it is very moisturizing on the hair. And it's a lightener that I can work with the peace of mind, knowing that my client's hair is gonna be protected. Something that I do when I'm working on the contour or when I'm working on these angled pieces, I like to fold my foil back in a little triangle. So first I fold it in half, and then I just sandwich it back into a triangle. This is going to help so that there's not too many foils coming around the client's face. This is a process that takes usually around 4 to 5 hours, So I want to make sure that my client's as comfortable as they can be throughout the whole process. So little steps like this help to ensure that. Now we're going to replicate the same thing on the other side. I like to work back and forth and ping pong throughout the back of the head to make sure that everything is nice and even and that it's going to process evenly as well. Usually in my salon, when I'm working with assistants, I will section off each section and then I'll have them go through and apply the lightener for me. This really helps to speed it up for our clients, and it just helps to elevate the experience for them as well. So holding your section taut, when you are teasing the hair, you want to make sure that you're not just going in and brushing this whole section up. That's going to cause some knotting. So you want to comb it taut, and you want the comb to be tilted towards you. The teeth of the comb should be facing you at about a 45-degree angle. Then you're going to slightly back comb and do this in parts. So it should be about 3 to 4 swipes before you're done with your tease. I've swiped it up, and then I'm going to come in the middle and push it up to lock it into place. Once I lock it into place, I'm going to come in, hold it with my finger so that I can place my clip right there. It can be any metal clip. You can also do this similar holding technique with hairspray. So you can just use a medium hold hairspray and push that right into place. And that works just as well. So we're going to saturate this midsection. And walk our way up. With the Air Libre lightener that I'm using today, you can get 5 levels of lift open air and up to 7 levels of lift when you're using a foil. Then the 8 times powder that I mixed in, that is my bond protector of choice. This is actually a beeswax extract base, and what that does is it encapsulates the lightener and it drives the lightener directly to the melanin of the hair. So it makes your lightener work faster while protecting that cuticle layer. Who doesn't want faster and healthier results, right? So for our next section, we started creating this little triangle here that you can see, correct? So I am going to cap off that triangle with a horizontal zigzag to add an extra pop of brightness right here in the middle. So something that I would do at this point, if my client has very dark brown hair and they want to stay a brunette, they just want to become an illuminated brunette, what we call it, I would start to do thicker zigzags in this section and create large zigzags. So what that would look like is at this point, working in large triangle sections like this. So you would use this same technique and just change the amount of tease that you're doing and the size of your zigzags. That's going to give you a completely different look with this same exact technique. For the case of what we did with Brenda's hair, we continued with these small to medium zigzags throughout the entire back of her hair. So we're going to go ahead and do a small zigzag right across. It is slightly wider than the zigzag that we did for the hairline. So when we are taking our zigzags, we're going to slice from one side over to the other. And we're going to work with this top section. We're going to leave this down here as our dimension. Here I'm going to tease starting at 50% so that we're going to add a little bit more dimension between these pops of blonde. The dimension that you leave in between your blonde sections is just as important as the sections that you highlight. Something that I used to do in the beginning when I first started doing color at around 18 years old, I used to over highlight everything. And it is really important to realize that the more highlights you do, it's not necessarily going to look better. So learning how to visualize your final result and visualize where you want to place those highs and lows is so crucial to be able to give your clients the looks that they're going for. So we're going to keep that dimension in between. And I'm making sure to thoroughly saturate this section. Once it's saturated, I'm just going to sweep up my lightener closer to that root, and then grab a little bit more to saturate the midlines and ends. Something that you learn over time as well is to work smarter, not harder. So you don't want to have to overfoil and then go back and try to figure out what low lights you should put in during their next appointment because they're way too blonde when they come back. The consistency of my lightener is mixed at a 1:2 ratio. So it's going to give it more of like a yogurt to cream cheese consistency. And that's just what I prefer to work with so that I have more control over my product. Okay, so we did our horizontal section, and this is what we're going to repeat until we get to this last third of the head on top. So we're going to create another triangle on each side with our medium-sized zigzags. Slice that zigzag right there, and this here, we're leaving it off to the side. We're going to tease from 50%, just like we did on this last section. And what's that going to do? It's going to create a really beautiful gradient of the brightness versus the depth. Make sure you guys are dropping your questions down below. Whatever you guys see that you're unsure of, make sure you drop them down below. I'm going to place my foil and saturate the section. This piece of the process is pretty repetitive, so we are going to speed through this here. And it's really important to thoroughly saturate your sections so that you don't have any spotting or bleeding later on that you have to correct once your client has already been sitting there for so many hours. Something I'll do when my foil is slipping a little bit too, the foils usually have this built-in fold on the back. If they don't, I usually do it before applying the foil. If my foil is starting to slip, I will unfold this section in order to protect the rest of that root area. So I'll unfold that little flip and then fold this back into place. So I'm going to fold these little corners so that it stays. And then we're going to do the same section on the other side. So we're going to follow this and stay on the same pattern all the way down this way. So this zigzag here, I ended up creating it a little bit too wide in comparison to what I did. So I'm going to go back in and clean that up. I want to make sure that I'm going to have an even application on both sides. So it's really important to make sure that your zigzag is even when you're doing a style like this. Take the top of your zigzag, leave that out for dimension. If it comes to a point like this, where some of the hair is going to be too wide and too spread apart for your foil, you can pull that section out and leave it out as your dimension. Tease this area up, and then go ahead and saturate. And once we get through this next section, the top is going to be a little different. So you want to make sure that you're paying attention to where that switches off. And bring this up. And saturate here. I always like to make sure that my product is living at the edge of my brush so that my brush isn't going to get messy and cause lightener to go on other areas of the hair and end up making it look splotchy. So it's really important to me to keep my sectioning and my tray here really nice and clean. And for our next section in this area, we're going to go ahead and do one more horizontal parting. And this next area is where we're going to switch it up. I'm gonna slice my zigzags. When I slice off my zigzags, I am taking it at the valley of each zigzag. So we have the point here, we have the mountaintop, and we have the valleys right next to it, the low points of our zigzag. So when I grab my zigzag, I'm not weaving and picking up each individual piece. I'm slicing below and picking up this whole section of each zigzag, starting at the lowest point. So we're going to tease at 50% and clip this away. Let's see, do we have any questions?
Yes.
All right, let's hear them.
So people are asking what volume you're using and the degree of lightness that you're looking for.
Okay, so I'm using 20 volume. On mannequins, it doesn't necessarily lighten all that much. But in this case, what I would want to take her to, since we're starting with like a level 6 base, I would want to take her to an 8, getting to a 9. So on Brenda's hair, she is a level 6 natural. I used 15 and 20 volume throughout her hair. I started off with 15 volume doing this sectioning because I knew that she wanted to be really bright. I took her to a level 9 to 10, and then I toned her using the Truss 11.21, the 10.89, and the 0.03 to create a balance between cool tones and warm tones.
And I think we'll go over the formulas and the product again at the end if anybody wants to make notes.
Yes, definitely.
We can do that in an effective recipe format so people
Yes.
can recreate it later. How can you, general ideas on how to prevent blotching?
So how to prevent stains. The first thing is that you are going to want to have a good consistency with your lightener. Second step, keeping your brush really nice and clean. Third step would be this, how we are putting very little product towards the root area of the foil. That is going to really help to prevent any splotchiness. And then if you do get any, then our shadow root can always go back in and adjust that for you. However, you don't want to rely on the shadow root as something to fix any mistakes. You just want it to be more of a blend insurance. So you want to make sure that you're using the shadow root just to blend out any foil lines, not necessarily to correct any mistakes that you might make. But of course, mistakes happen. It happens to all of us. Yes, it does happen to me still, depending on what the client may have on their hair Sometimes if the client's body temperature is too hot as well, that can cause your lightener to swell up more. So it's really important to be able to recognize those mistakes and be able to fix them later on as well.
How can you fix them, or how do you present mistakes to your clients?
That's a tricky one, right? That's always like an, ooh, that hurts inside if you gotta do that, right? But the major thing is just being honest to your clients. You want to make sure that your clients understand that you really care about their final result. You want to make sure that they know that you are 100% focused on making them happy. And if you see something that's wrong, you have to own up to it and fix that mistake. Sometimes it does happen where you are finished up, you're blow drying your clients, and you see one big spot right on top or right next to their face frame. And it might hurt inside, you might feel really nervous to tell them, but your clients are definitely going to appreciate if you own up to that mistake, because they will find out later on at home. So take the extra 10 minutes, dab on some extra of your shadow root formula, let it process, and then you don't have to wash the whole thing all over again. Just spray that area down and wipe it all off to make sure that your clients are going to have seamless and perfect results when they get home. We are going to get started on the crown area of our technique. Here, we're going to work on diagonals all the way across. And we are going to start off with a small zigzag, teasing at about 50%. And we're going to saturate this. Do we have any other questions for now while I work on this one?
Yes, always. You were speaking earlier about a bonding agent. Can you get into that a little bit more, like the ABCs of it?
Yes, so the bond protector that I'm using is the 8x powder from Truss Professional. This is a bond protector in a powder form. It has a beeswax extract base, so what that does is it encapsulates the lightener and it drives the lightener directly to the melanin of the hair. So the 8x powder is going to allow your lightener to work faster while protecting that cuticle layer. It's also going to help prevent swelling of your lightener in your bowl and in your foils. So this is going to allow you to be able to continue to work with that same bowl and not waste any product. It's also very hydrating for the hair and moisturizing as well. In my opinion, a bond protector is a necessary tool to have anytime I'm lightening a client's hair. Whether I've been lightening their hair for years or whether they're a first-time client, I include the bond protector in the price of my blending service. I don't do it a la carte where the clients are given a choice whether to do it or not. I always include it in my service because my clients come to me from what they saw online, and I want to be able to replicate exactly what I have online for my clients in the chair. And I know that to create those beautiful, healthy, shiny blondes, I need to add these extra steps to ensure that their hair is going to stay healthy. So I will always add in a bond protector. And when I give my clients the price for their service, I let them know that that is included in the price. They are always appreciative of knowing that their hair is going to be protected, and they love to see the beautiful results of it nice, shiny, and healthy as well.
I think that's a really good tip. You're saying your clients need to have this,
Yes.
and that's what you're going to provide in the service, so they're going to pay.
Yes.
They don't have a choice because you stand by your work, and this is what's best for them.
Exactly. And in all my years of doing that, I've had one client question it. No one else has. One client has questioned it. And she said, oh, well, how much would it be if you took that out? And I said, well, unfortunately, that's not an option to take it out because I want to ensure that your hair is going to stay healthy. So this is something that we're going to have to add in. If you don't want to get a bond protector, plenty of other salons will allow you to do it a la carte. We just don't have that option at our salon to make sure that we're always going to uphold the results that we post about on our page. On this next section, I am going to start alternating between zigzags and slices. What is this going to do? This is going to create a mix of highs and lows throughout the top half of their head. So it's going to add a lot of dimension and then a lot of really beautiful ribbons throughout the top. So when you see those really stunning ribbons that, that people post about online, this is how you get that done. So we're going to take a slice on this diagonal, and the slice is going to be a fine section too, guys, especially since we're trying to get our clients nice and bright. What you're going to see me do at the top is go between a zigzag and a slice, zigzag and a slice. When I work with my slices, I want them to really pop, so I'm only going to tease these at 25%. That is going to create this whole big ribbon of brightness throughout the look. The zigzags are going to have that 50% tease, and the slices are only going to have the 25%.
Can you please go over the teasing levels that you do?
Yes. So let's do that on our next section, just so I can apply this one here. So a rule of thumb is that for my really bright blondes, I will only focus between 25 to 50% tease. For my medium brunettes, I'll go from 25 to 75% tease. And for my brunettes that are really dark and who want a ton of dimension, I'll mostly do 50 to 75% tease throughout their entire head. So the more natural you want it, the more tease you're going to use. And why is that? Because the more tease that you do, it's going to add more depth and more of their natural tone in between. So we finish our slice, and I'm going to fold this up and sandwich that away, and then just slightly fold up those ends. So with this top, you have two choices of whether you want to continue working just on one side, going all the way across, or you can ping pong back and forth. For the camera's sake, we'll continue on one side. So here, I'm going to continue. Let me twist our mannequin this way so you guys can see, so you guys can have a more clear view. And I'm going to lower it a little bit. So in between, for this look of the super blonde that we're doing, I'm leaving about 1 finger width's distance between each of my slices versus zigzags. If you want something more dimensional, you would leave 2 finger widths in between, and vice versa. If you want something even brighter and bolder, you could leave less of the dimension in between. So we're going to do this zigzag, and on this next section, we are going to discuss the levels of tease again, and my top tips on how to secure your tease to make sure that you're not just going to cause matting and that it's going to make your clients really uncomfortable. This is something, especially for clients with fine hair, that can cause a lot of tangles. So the way that you tease is what's going to determine how knotted up your client's hair gets. So we are going to take this slice, just slightly turn her. We're going to slice off this section and work on the tease here. So for super blondes, I would only tease about 1/4 of the way down. This is going to give us minimal dimension. For medium tone blondes, for my brunettes, I'll start at 50% tease so that all of this coming up in my tease, when I am finished and I comb this down, all of this depth, if you can imagine it, is going to be in between my highlights. So that is going to cause my highlights to pop a lot more. Then, if we want something really dimensional, we can start at 3/4 of the way down and see how much hair we're pushing away. This is all going to be that natural depth. So this is all going to stay really dark so that when we comb it back down, this blonde is going to be really nice and diffused, and you're only going to have a pop of blonde towards her very ends of her hair. And then of course, if somebody wants it really, really subtle, you can start that tease at practically 100% of the way down and only work on these little strands that got left behind. Typically, we don't necessarily do that much of a tease. I'll typically stick to 75 to 25% of my tease. And do I tease every client? 90% of the time, yes. This is essentially the technique that I use on every client that you see on our page. So we're gonna take our zigzag, and here, since we're at the top of our Power Blonde section, we're going to do a 50% tease. Bring it out, tease it from halfway up, and clip that into place. Oop, we had a rogue clip go flying, that's okay. So on this section here, if I ever have a section too that I'm looking at it and I just feel like one of the pieces are a little too thick going all the way across, you can just take out a little ribbon or two. Just because you sectioned it and teased it, you are not stuck with lightening that exact section. You can always alternate it. Likewise, if you see that there's a section that's too fine, you could just pick up some extra hair to adjust that section. So I tease that away.
Yeah, I think this is an interesting but relevant question.
Okay, let's see.
Have you ever ran into, some people have pollen or bee allergies.
Okay.
Is there any type of allergy that you've been educated on with beeswax? Or is it something that if it's external, it's not an issue?
I don't know an answer for that. I haven't had anybody who has had a reaction to the 8 times powder, thankfully. But I also don't do a ton of on-scalp lightening. So I think that that's a big question for people who do a lot of that on-scalp lightening. This is mostly the technique that I do. If you are concerned about that, I would do a patch test on your client, have them wait 72 hours and get back to you to see if they had any reaction. You would do that right behind the ear, mix up a little bit of your lightener with your bond protector inside, and do a tiny patch test on the back of their ear or on their inner arm as well, and see if they're gonna have a reaction over the next few days. That way you're going to ensure that your clients are gonna be safe and that you're gonna be able to give them what they're looking for. I have had a client that was allergic to lightener. That was scary. Then we had to tell her that she had to take a Benadryl and go home. But she knew that she was beforehand and just didn't tell us. So,
How important it is to people.
Yes, she did not care that she was allergic to lightener, and she had Benadryl on hand, so she knew what was gonna happen.
The last question before I let you just take off here. How do these techniques work on curly hair?
So you can do something very similar. The only difference that might be is the amount that you're gonna tease. So on my curly hair clients, I like to leave more dimension. I think it makes the curls look a lot more beautiful when it stands out against that dark, against the dark base. But you can do the same sectioning for somebody with curly or wavy hair. And if your client has too fine of hair where you're concerned about the tease and what it's going to do to their hair afterwards, you can do the same sectioning, but instead of teasing with your comb, you can use the blow dryer method where you blow dry the top of your section and make all these little pieces fall out as if you're teasing their hair. So if you were to section this off, take your slice, and we'll pretend this is a blow dryer, hit the top of your section with your blow dryer. It's going to cause all these little pieces to fall out, just like it would with a comb, and then you can clip that away and use that as your tease instead. But sectioning wise, I do the same sectioning for my clients with curly hair. You can also do this when you're doing a color correction. If you have a client with gray hair, you can do the same exact sectioning that we're doing here. I really like this sectioning actually for color corrections. because it leaves my sectioning really nice and clean, I can just go back in really easily and pull up my sections to do any foil work in between that I might need to do. If this were to be a color correction, I can very easily just take these foils, clip them up, and low light anything in between that we might have to low light. So this is a great technique to use when you have to do a color correction. So we are going to speed through this next section here. We did the last section was our small zigzag. So now we'll do a slice. And this area of her hair seems to be really thick, so I'm just gonna take out an extra section and push this up. So I'm gonna clip this away and apply this next section. Once we're done with this, we're going to actually move on to the front so that you guys can see how I do the face frame for my clients. That section is super, super important. And this back section, we are already almost through it. The face frame is usually what everybody's excited for. It's what we call the money piece because that brings in all the money. It's the first thing that your clients see, and so it's something that you can charge them nicely for. So for this sectioning, all we would do to continue here is continue on this section, going all the way across the head, alternating between the zigzag and the slice. For time's sake, we want to make sure that you guys are going to have enough time to be able to see the whole technique. So I'm going to get started on the face frame because we do have a few more things to discuss. So first things first, what's super important for our face frame is to remember this little area above the ear. This is something that a lot of people might neglect, and if you forget to add a little foil here, when your client pulls this hair back, you're going to have a dark hole right here. We definitely don't want that. So on every single client of mine, I do that same small zigzag that we did in the back, and I do it right over the ear. So we're going to do this really small zigzag, and we're going to follow that natural curve of the ear, whichever way that it's going. I'm gonna take this and clip it back away. And then I'm going to remove a few ribbons underneath this section, which would typically be our baby hair that we naturally have. The mannequin does not. These mannequins have the most insane hairline. So I am going to just slightly tease. It's that 25% that we talked about. Why is it 25% here? Because we want it to stay really nice and bright around the base. So we're going to take our lightener and saturate this section and walk that lightener slowly up to that face frame. Especially this area right around the face, you don't need a ton of product near that root area because there's a lot of natural warmth that the face lets off, so it's really going to process pretty quickly right here around the front. When I'm done with my sectioning, I always make sure to check on those first contour pieces, and I always keep an eye on these first few pieces all around the face because those are really fine and it's really important so that they lighten nicely. So on this area, here is where you have to take a look at your, take a sip of water, thank you. Little intermission. So you want to make sure that at this point you're going to analyze your client's face, analyze their hairline, and see how bright that they want their face frame to be. The brighter that they want it, the more sections you're going to take on these next few pieces that we're going to discuss here. So in Brenda's case, where it was really nice and bright, we did 4 to 5 sections on that face frame on the bunny piece. Typically, I'll do 3 sections back to back. So, first things first, here around the ear, to make it really nice and bright, I'm going to take a second row of this small zigzag so that we're going to focus a lot of brightness right here in the front of the face for when that client brings their hair forward. We're going to slightly tease that and apply on this whole section. These are pretty fine sections, so again, we don't want too much product. We're going to saturate the mid-lanes and ends. And then once this section is done, I'm going to take it and sandwich it away from my client's face. This is going to make them much more comfortable so that they're not complaining about hair and foils in their face. And then we're going to follow this hairline back this way. When I get to the temple area and the front of the client's head, I'm going to be working in slices. So the entire look is done with zigzags and slices. For my first slice around the hairline, I pull it back and I take out all the baby hair. We don't want to lighten that baby hair. Why is that? The baby hair is typically much shorter, and if we do lighten that area, it's going to have the appearance that it was broken off by the lightener. If we keep it natural, no one's going to notice it, and it's going to actually help us blend out that face frame so that there's no harsh lines around our client's face. So really important to leave that baby hair alone. Unless you are doing a full solid color all over, then you would touch that baby hair. So I'm gonna push this back and just slightly saturate this top section. And then apply to those mid-lanes and ends. So for this next piece, I'll turn her back towards the camera. So behind that first face framing section, you can do another small zigzag, and the more dimension you want it to have, you can leave more hair in between here. So in Brenda's case, I did 2 small zigzags, and then I did a third medium-sized zigzag behind it to have that balance of the brightness with the depth. And once this section is done, we get onto the money piece. So we section it, apply, sweep that product up, and then apply to the mid-lanes and ends. So this whole side section is done, nice and easy. And then the front is going to be similar. We are going to follow this hairline and create very small slices. So depending on how deep your client's hairline is, that's how you will angle these first slices here. So remove the baby hair, similar to the back, and tease it only 25%. And then we're going to apply and saturate here. For the face frame, I typically do 3 back-to-back slices. And then each slice that you do, the further away you go from the hair, from the hairline, you're going to add a little bit more dimension. So I'm going to show you on this next section what that dimension is going to look like. gonna saturate this. And the section right after the face ring, we are going to continue what we actually did in the back. Here I'm going to lower it down. And how do I add that little bit of dimension back in? On my next slice, once I take that, I'm going to add in and remove here 3 little ribbons. 3 little ribbons, tease it, and then apply. Do we have an additional question that we want to get in right now?
How do these techniques work on medium hair or shorter hair?
You
Or
would
is there
do-
like a minimum length clients need?
It can't be a pixie. It has to be at least shoulder length. Shoulder length and longer, it's the same exact way that you're going to apply. But if your clients have a pixie cut, this isn't going to be the look for them. So we went ahead and did the face frame. And for this last piece, I'm going to speed through this just so that we have enough time. We are going to continue what we did in the back. So for this rest of the top, it's going to be a mix of that small zigzag and slice going all the way back. So we'll do one more small zigzag in here for you guys to get the idea of it. And then we are going to have Brenda come back out so that we can go over some picture poses for you guys, because that is super important. So just a reminder, we do a small zigzag at a 50% tease. And then we do have an announcement at the end that Corey mentioned, so that's super exciting.
Goodies and prizes and giveaways.
Yes, you definitely want to stick around to see that, because you need to figure out how you can get your hands on this amazing, amazing giveaway. And here, so we went ahead and did that last zigzag. And you would just continue that pattern going all the way back to finish off the look. So I think that now we can go ahead and have Brenda come back on so that we can discuss some of our photo taking techniques. I'm just gonna need my phone. Let's see what I can. And I'm going to have you guys pull up the before pictures if we can first, so that you guys can see how Brenda has come in.
So they're up, they can see them.
Okay, so you guys could see the before pictures. So you're gonna see 4 different photos up. The first photo that you're gonna see is of Brenda back in March of 2022. So that is her before photo from before. She had a very warm blonde, and she wasn't necessarily taking care of her hair back then. She was straightening her hair all the time. So her hair, she wanted to be super blonde, but she wasn't able to get there. So over time, I have finally convinced her that she didn't need to straighten her hair every day. And she started to use the proper products to take care of her hair. Then pictures 2 to 4 are her before pictures from yesterday. So we did her hair back in May. So that was her regrowth. And you can see that her hair beforehand grew out and it stayed really beautiful and really blonde because she stopped using those heat tools and she really started to use the professional products that I recommended to her to be able to take care of it. So something that we do that's really important. So we went through and we learned this awesome technique. We were able to create this technique for various different clients. We need to know how to be able to capture this for our social media pages, right? This is what is going to allow the rest of your clients to see what you have to offer and what you're able to recreate for them. So it's really important to be able to get these awesome pictures in there. And we are going to show you guys some quick poses that you can do for your clients so that they are able so that you are able to show off the work that you just did on them. First things first, always clean off that camera. You want to make sure that your camera's nice and clean so that it's not going to look blurry when you do your photos. So I'm going to have Brenda stand nice and straight, and something that I'm going to use on her is the volumizing powder from Truss Professional. I use this for every one of my photos, so anybody who has that really nice and voluminous look to them at the end, you know this was it. My clients love this as well. They always want to take it home with them. They say that it looks like I'm seasoning their hair, so they really love it. They think it's a lot of fun to use the volumizing powder. So one way that I'm going to use the powder is I'm going to have her look down. You can stay straight right here. And I'm going to start tapping this powder all around her root area. And something that I do before my photos is I start opening her hair and tapping that powder all throughout her mid-lengths and ends. This is going to allow us to start to open up her hair and give us a beautiful amount of volume for our photos. So we're going to be able to see, look at that, how gorgeous she is. What do you guys think? Drop it in the comments what you think of this stunning look. It was created using the exact technique that we just went over. So we're going to go ahead and position ourselves. I'm going to make sure that my brightness is all the way up. And I am going to tell Brenda to hinge at the hips and bring her chest forward, and that's going to give her a lot of volume. When she looks over, when she hinges forward, her hair is going to appear longer, and it's going to look like it's really big and voluminous. So I am going to get a little bit lower down than Brenda is, and I'm going to snap some photos. When I do my photos, I move from side to side. I look at it in the camera. I'm going to move the hair around, and I'll tell Brenda, look over at the camera. Okay, smile. So I give my clients directions on what to do at this moment. And you can see I'm snapping a lot of photos. I'm gonna have you look straight down now. So I'll do some different shots to get different details of her hair. And I'll open up her hair like this so that it's gonna show the beautiful volume and all the dimension throughout. Now I'm gonna have her turn around for the back. And I'm going to smooth out her hair. I'm going to comb this back using my hands and make sure that everything's nice and smooth. I always have my clients look back. This is going to make their hair appear longer and a lot fuller as well. So a really good tip is to fluff out the hair to make sure that your focal point is the hair. You don't want their body to be the focal point. You don't want the background to be the focal point. So if you have a really messy background, you want to make sure that you clear that out of the way before you do your photos, right? So we're gonna snap a photo here. You could see how absolutely stunning this is. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. She's going to keep her head back, and I'm just gonna lift her hair here on the side. This gives us some really beautiful movement. You don't want it to just be them standing there with their hair as well. You want to add some movement. So Brenda, I'm going to have you put your hands underneath your neck area, and I'm going to have you put your elbows in and tilt your head back. So her sticking her hands underneath is going to push the hair out, and it's going to give her some really beautiful volume as well for our photos. And same thing with our videos. I'm just going to switch over to video mode right here. And this is how I'm going to capture my videos. All my videos for my TikTok, my Instagram, they are all found and they're all done right on my phone. We've done some video editing classes before, right? We did some TikTok editing classes, and then here we'll take some photos. And one more thing that I'm gonna do that's a lot of fun, I'm gonna move over this way. Brenda could put her hands down. My clients love it when we do this. I'm going to pick up this top section. I'm going to make sure that whatever is left is really nice and smooth. And here, we're going to do a quick twist So I'm gonna hold the hair in one hand and wrap the rest of the hair around that. And I'm going to stick these ends through this hole that I just created, through this circle. So pull it through, and you create this really pretty knot. And before I release it, I'm going to adjust her hair, and I'm going to tighten up that knot right there, and then go back to my original position to take a photo of this. Have her look up, make sure that the rest of it is really nice and smooth. And this is a whole other set of photos, a whole other look that you get to create for your clients. And this is pretty much how I do my photos and videos. So you guys can drop it in the comments of what you guys think here. Corey, what else?
It's absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
Everybody can see that. Brenda looks happy.
Yes,
Her hair looks
she's
healthy.
stunning.
And I can see that we need to next time have you do a styling class.
Yes.
So I think everyone's like, how do we get these waves?
Oh yeah, you guys can check out my TikTok for that.
Yeah, and I'm sure a lot of people have. If they didn't see your prior classes, they're in Milady training.
Uh-huh.
And then we just launched today a channel in Stylez.
Yes,
Anna.
that's very exciting.
So
That was
some-
so cool to see.
Some stuff is in there as well.
So definitely make sure you guys check that out so that you're able to see some of my old tips and tricks and bring it all together with everything that we learned today.
I want to come in here and mug this up a little bit. But you did amazing.
Uh-huh.
Everybody loved it. Thanks everybody for tuning in.
Thank you.
So, Brenda, you can stay here too. It's okay. So we are going to do a giveaway with Truss. They are offering, I have a list. Let me grab it real quick. But they're offering, I think it's like $340 of color product for a winner. And I have a list here of what it is. So you can help explain it if anybody wants. So there's one Crazy for Truss bag.
That's a really cute branded bag, a
There's
tote bag.
A fast repair kit.
That is a 12-minute hydration treatment, 3 steps behind the chair,
There is a bag of Air Libre bleach.
which we use today.
One bag of Blanc blonde bleach.
Our second liner that has a light blue base to it.
One 8X powder
The bond protector.
builder. One amino spray.
Amazing heat protectant. I love it.
There is a deluxe prime spray.
Another one of probably my number 1 sold retail product in the salon.
And then a prime champagne blonde spray, which
So that is
sounds tasty.
That is a pre-toning spray. It's a violet spray that you can use behind the chair in order to tone your clients, and it lasts 5 washes.
Yeah. So that is a giveaway for that whole package. And it's super simple to get into the giveaway. You need to follow Truss Professional on Instagram. It's TRUSS Professional. You guys will find it. Follow Stylez. I think a lot of you guys already are. And Stylez posted a picture of you and I earlier today. And the instructions are there. But basically, you need to like that picture and follow Truss and Stylez. And then I think tomorrow we'll be doing a random drawing for who is part of that. And you also have to be in Stylez, of course. If you haven't downloaded Stylez, you want to do that because that's how we check your information to send you the gift.
Yes, that's awesome. You don't want to miss that.
And then for anybody who's wanting to get into color, you know, I mean, you spoke a lot about your affinity for this today, but you guys can tell Anna is successful. She's confident. She's competent. She could use anything in the world she wanted to. And she, before she even worked for Truss, she went after them because she liked their product so much. I've heard this story before.
Yes.
And, you know, if you guys are looking to be in color, they're offering any of you 30% off to try some of these products you saw today. So you can go to the site, Manny will put up at the end, and you can, when you register, use the code StylezApp30. That's STYLEZAPP 30 to get your 30% off, which is a really big savings.
Yes, huge.
On color. We pushed them and pushed them and pushed them, like, okay. And so
Yeah, they don't typically do 30.
yeah, so they're happy to do that. And again, for anybody in color, you guys should check it out. At the end screen on this will be the link. You guys can see it, and the code is written there as well. And don't forget to see Anna's new channel
Yes.
in the app. Follow Anna, Hair by Lima.
Yes.
It's the same on TikTok and Instagram, right?
Yep. LIMA.
Yeah, you can see her multiple videos that got millions views on TikTok.
Yes, I love TikTok. Sometimes you waste too much time on there, but it's good for work too.
So what's up for you the rest of the year?
Relaxing, enjoying the holidays, and sticking at the salon for now.
Yeah?
Yep.
And clients like Brenda.
Yes, my
fly
beautiful
from
blondes.
all over to go to New Jersey.
Yes,
to
she
see
flies from Orlando. Her mom, her sister all fly in to get their hair done whenever they can.
Well, thank you everybody for tuning in. Manny's going to put up the screen now so you can see all this stuff. And please join the giveaway. And more than anything, thanks for tuning in and giving Anna some love and support.
Yes.
For sharing everything that she's done and achieved with all of you.
All right. Thank you guys so much. Thank you to Corey, Stylez, Milady, and Truss for sponsoring this and for bringing me out. I really appreciate it. And I had a lot of fun here. This place is pretty awesome.
Yeah, thank you. Our production team is so cool.
Yes.
You know, it looks beautiful. You did great. Really, it helps us achieve our mission of helping all of you guys be successful. So thanks again for tuning in. Love and hugs from Style Studio.
Bye, guys. Thank
Bye.
you.